I love when Kara tells the story about how I figured out that dating as an adult sucked in general.
Oh my gosh. So I have a lot of dating horror stories.
Before we get started with our episode, we're going to hear from our sponsor. The absolute scariest part about starting a big project, whether it be a podcast or a business, is doing it all completely on your own. Listen, if I had a tool like Shopify when I was just getting started, that would have been a game changer. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the United States. With Shopify, you can do so many things, like you can get started in your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates, accelerate your content creation with helpful AI tools that will write your own product descriptions, write page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. Turn your business into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/Rebecca. Go to shopify.com/Rebecca. Shopify.com/Rebecca. Now let's get started with this week's episode. So if you are a longtime viewer of this podcast, you guys already know these ladies.
Hello.
We have Michaela Jill Murphy. We have Carolyn Dutton.
As Rebecca so kindly introduced, I am Michaela, and we haven't seen each other in a very long time. So
I know.
this is a wonderful little reunion.
I only get to see y'all like a couple times a year.
If that.
But that's always so special to me. Like, I always miss you guys so
She
much.
won't leave my house.
That's also correct.
She lives here.
I'm going to be taking the dog. I'm taking the dog.
Oh, dear.
I love that dog would not know what to do if she wasn't attached to your hip. I love it so. I literally came home from two Kara's the other day, and Kara was not home yet. Because we went to two different events, and Azula got so excited to see me. That's her dog's name.
Yeah. Well, it was so funny because like Michaela walked in, and I was like, "Oh, I don't think you've ever actually been inside my house."
No, I've been on the outside
Oh,
yeah.
of the house.
Well, and then I was like, "Oh, and this is my dog Azula," and as it was coming out of my mouth, I was like, "I forgot," and I'm like so embarrassed now of like, and this is my dog Azula. I'm like, I'm so glad you're here. Just like, should I run?
We're friends, and I like you for you, and that's so important. I need you to know.
Tough. It's fine. It's supposed to just
You're
be
gonna
they
talk to me. I love when Kara tells the story about how I figured out that dating as an adult sucked in general.
Oh my gosh. So I have a lot of dating horror stories. Rebecca would come stay at my house and listen to Rebecca has tried to set me up before.
It didn't work out. As we know, I'm not a good judge of character. We know this. It's across the
Not
board.
at all.
I
I can't.
believe in people too much. I believe in people.
Yeah.
Love them so much. I want them. I'm like, I see so much potential in you. This is gonna work fine, and it doesn't.
And I'm like, Rebecca, you're in like your late 20s now. You don't date for potential. You date what's in front of you because like you can't believe that you can change someone. Just like let them be themselves.
What if
and
I'm
see
a
it's right for you.
superhero?
You're not.
Oh.
But
We'll get into. Okay, wait. Introduce yourself for real. Hold
Oh
on.
yeah.
For those of you.
No one cares. We're scared.
should I finish that story though?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and then okay.
Yeah.
So Rebecca's used to like hearing some of these dating stories. It is difficult to meet people in LA.
Well, a lot of my friends back home are all married already because we live in the South. And
Yeah.
you get married young, and like that's I got married very young.
and people in LA stay like very young for very long.
yeah.
And at one point, after hearing like my stories, like every time she comes into town, Rebecca goes out to lunch with another friend who's like another single woman around our age. And Rebecca comes back and she goes, "Oh my gosh, this was so great." Like, and you know, it's not just you, Kara. It's not just you because apparently she feels the same way. And I'm like, did you think it was
It's
just
not
me?
just
No,
you.
no,
Okay,
listen,
but
I
here's
didn't.
to tell you.
I know.
It's not just you.
I know.
I didn't realize how awful dating as an adult was.
Because you
Because I did it.
so happily married for so long.
It's a strong word.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. Well, that's not what we're here to talk about. I now understand that it's fine. It's an experience, and I feel like so many people who have found their other half don't actually realize what single women, and I know there's gonna be single men too. Well, none of us are men. None of us are single men.
From our
We're
experience,
gonna talk about women because we're women. I don't know if you're upset about that. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Watch a different podcast.
Yeah, there's gotta be
Because the female perspective right now.
exactly. We're gonna talk about women dating and most of the time dating men because that is the
Women
experience we
dating.
have, and that is what our friends have talked to us about, and that is what it is. And let me tell you, I hate it.
Yeah, it's bad. I know people that are married or are getting married, and they're like, yeah, we do love each other, but also like we're staying together because neither of us have the energy to ever date again. So like this is it, and that's fine.
That's so
It's also so
that's so sad.
Yeah, well, and I hear that, and I'm like, it feels like you guys are settling, and they're like, well, no.
And
We love each other, but the alternative sounds so much worse. That is a thing.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Oh my gosh. So it started in I've been, on my own now for over a year at this point. And so I have started dating, and it's already been such an experience.
Yeah.
Like even oh my
It's really
gosh.
interesting.
I want to read to you.
It's fun. No, who are you?
So
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
like, don't you dare. I am Carolyn Dunton. I am an actor and a comedian. I do a little voiceover. I also do comedy online and content. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I'm on.
Looks like she's a
Disney
content
Bear.
creator.
That's
Just
so great. That's so great. Oh my gosh, you made a comedy.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you meant voiceover.
I didn't know you were funny. That's
no,
crazy.
I'm very funny, actually.
That's
If you ask
wild.
anyone, they're going to be like, oh, Carolyn Dunton, she is so funny. Give her a job.
Do you have names?
Give me a job.
Yeah.
Give me a job.
Job.
Yeah, job.
Job.
You can find my contacts on IMDb.
Which honestly, maybe that's the best new dating platform.
IMDb.
Oh, God.
IMDb
But then
Pro. Actually, LinkedIn, I've been told LinkedIn is actually kind of hopping. Flirting happens on LinkedIn.
Does
We
it
can get into
really?
that later. We can get into that later.
That feels like an HR violation.
Now what you mentioned, job. We're gonna sit our repeating those 2 words together.
Am I allowed to do that on your
I
podcast?
don't care.
I'm so desperate to make money. So desperate.
In a performative, wholesome,
Professional.
Yeah,
Professional. In a professional manner.
I like to wear my clothes for money. If that's okay.
I want to read to you, I was literally on these apps, and these apps give me so much anxiety. I want to read
know,
to you
I
a bio. A bio?
Did not introduce herself.
Oh. Did we not?
No, we talked about it. Just as
We talked about it.
That's all you need to know.
My Adderall's wearing off.
If you don't get it, you don't get it.
I took it very early this morning, and
Wait,
now it's
who are
already
you
done.
and why are you in my house?
So I'm Jessie Flower.
Do people still call you that?
Well, I still sign as that at conventions because whatever name is in the credits of the project, that's what I sign as. That was the rule I gave myself.
So was Jessie Flowers like your alias?
Jessie Flower was the stage name I gave myself from like 5 years old to 15.
Holy
and then I went
moly.
back to Michaela because it started kind of sounding like a stripper name.
Ah.
And
mhm,
I was
yeah.
like, also, I like Michaela. Michaela's a great name, but just people weren't familiar with it yet. So like, they would mispronounce it and misspell it. And I was like, Michaela. And I was like, what's going on?
Michelle.
Michael.
And I just got called Michael. Michael. And I'm like, I think you mean Michaela. And they're like, I guess so. And I'm like,
I guess so.
okay. So anyway, I'm Michaela Jill Murphy, aka Jessie Flower, aka Toph Beifong, hence the Toph jokes. I am,
You play Toph?
Yes. There's a show called Avatar.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's
Your
the one
dog
with the
actually
big
has a
blue
similar
people.
The
name.
blue people.
Yeah.
I knew I recognized you.
Yeah.
And I think that someone on the show named a character after my dog.
Yes, exactly.
Ah, yeah,
Yeah.
because your dog is such a global favorite.
Yeah.
That makes so much
Very
sense.
popular dog.
Everybody loves it.
Understandable.
I'm an actor and actress. I don't know. I say actor just because I just would.
I have always said actor.
But I'm not trying to say that to be like it's this. I don't know. I'm just an actor.
Yeah.
Actress, whatever you want to call me.
It's your employment to label. You can call it whatever you
I
want.
like everything's a statement now. Everyone's so sensitive, and so it's like, oh, you're choosing that, which means. This.
Oh,
Well, I've always said actor, and because I've always said actor because I don't feel like there should be a differentiation, but especially now that there are so many more people that are gender fluid and so forth, I wonder if I should
actor.
start going back to actress.
Maybe I don't know.
But I'm also like it's so ingrained in me to say actor that
too.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm in actor in Los Angeles that has done primarily voice work that people would know of. But I do dabble in some theater. Love a good singing and dance number, you know. Some jazz hands, some cartwheels, some trapeze.
She's a professional.
You know, the things. But yes, Avatar: The Last Airbender has been a very fun return to my middle school childhood this last couple of years because they put it on Netflix during COVID. And so, yeah, that's like, I'm Avatar girl right now. That's like
Avatar girl.
Yeah.
So you don't even need to be worried about being called Michael. You're just Avatar girl.
I'm Toph. People are like Toph constantly, or just Melon Lord.
Melon Lord.
Just shout that. And then, yeah.
It's like, that's me. That's what you need to pronoun.
But I have plugged into social media more with lots of inspiring people to take note after. Because it's you kind of need it here.
Yeah.
It's like it's pretty predatory, and just don't have it, and it's like your thing. You just like don't have social media, or like if you're on social media, you need to be like doing social media. It's like you have to pick.
Well, also, especially because you do have so many fans and you do so much work at conventions and stuff, using social media is such a great way to like become available and connect with that and huge fan base that you've
A lot
built.
of actors don't do it as
Well, even look at like
helps a lot.
Dan and Swampy are both co-creators of Phineas and Ferb
And the Minions.
and the Minions.
And
Of
the
course,
Minions.
of course, of
Dan
course,
created
of
the
In
course,
case you didn't know this.
of course.
Yeah.
And even when we went to Disneyland last year, we were talking because the three of us went to this event at Disneyland, and everyone would stop and take pictures with Dan, and Dan would go, and this is Swampy, and Swampy's like, please stop saying that. And it just shows that, Swampy didn't take to social media the way that Dan did.
Dan
So
is
he's not as
really
accessible or
Yeah.
recognizable. And so I think it is kind of changing Hollywood a little bit in that, like,
Yeah.
people who are especially just starting out, having that presence is so
Yeah.
valuable and important.
And also, you can also tell the difference between like the people that like the celebrities and stuff that are on social media because they genuinely like it,
Yeah.
and the ones that are like, I have to do this for my job and like I don't really understand how it works and stuff.
Yeah.
And Dan is someone who's just so creative and so passionate that he's basically working 2 full-time jobs because I think he makes more content than I do.
Yeah, he makes so
He's a
much
machine.
content. He just has so much fun with it.
Yeah, between like Despicable Me, Phineas and Ferb.
Yeah, of course. I really hear.
Despicable Me, like
Yeah, that's the big one.
Such an audience there, you know.
Such an audience.
Of course, the Minions, absolutely. Did you know that the Hollywood Studios was selling Dan Povenmire Minion shirts the other day? Yeah.
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 I have footage of
saw
it.
it.
So far,
I saw it. I got one.
the growth.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. It's crazy.
What's the
He
subject
might-
of this
he might-
podcast?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay.
Ian's acting in social media.
Yeah.
You might have
I
been
did
Dating life.
to date at some point.
Yeah.
Let me.
At Universal, actually, there's been some, you know.
I saw this. I saw this in someone's bio when I was like scrolling through the dating apps, and I saved it because it was so good. And do I think this guy was creative enough to come up with this? No.
He definitely stole
But
it.
the fact that I know for a fact so many people probably type this in is such a problem.
Oh, dear.
And I think the worst part is I know that there's going to be some people listening that are like, I don't get the point. If it's not for you, scroll. Like, no, this is weird. Okay. About me.
Serious.
You can't date women in America. It's an effing joke. Most of you are such a waste of time. You don't know a good thing if it slapped you in the head. I'm done. Good luck finding someone worth a shit. Prove me wrong. I love rock and go to concerts and festivals and get along with pretty much everybody. I play video games. I'm into traveling, hiking, exercising, movies, spending time with people I care about, and much more. Again, if I'm wrong about you, prove me wrong.
It's a very classic neg.
No, why would I want to?
Because well, I mean, obviously, if you have some sort of terrible complex of needing to people please and prove yourself,
Yeah.
that'll work.
Well, because I haven't been on a dating website in years because like I've had such a bad experience with all of them. But what I will say is it felt sometimes years ago when I was on them, it seems like people go there to argue sometimes.
Yes.
or to
Yes.
or to just exist. It also seems like entertainment. Because like
Yeah.
they like engage with the action, but then like don't ever follow up. And I'm like, why are you here?
Yeah, but there's also like so many people looking at dating apps right now that are like trying to get content out of it. Of
That's
like,
so wrong. I hate that.
and I like don't love
love
that,
that.
of like
Yeah.
There are people there who are
There's some combative. Yeah. The messaging.
I did not come up with this. I literally saw this online and I was like, oh, that's cute. And it's like 2 truths and a lie. And it's like, I'm mentally stable, I'm a crazy cat lady, and I'm funny. And it's like supposed to be just like a lighthearted, little whatever. And I've had like so many dudes like respond like, well, I know it's not that one because women aren't funny. And I'm like, do you think that was going to work?
well, 'cause
Like,
what
did
they're-
you think you want me to argue back? Why would
That's interesting.
I waste my time on someone who's going to just say that kind of disrespectful?
Out of the gate.
because
Right.
people do.
And they
Like gone back.
Peop-
you mean?
yeah, people like get so defensive that they're like, well, how dare you? I think that there's an issue with that.
no, I'm not going to waste my time on
Yeah.
that person. I'm 29 years old. I'm not going to sit there and try to
Healthy
convince
people
someone
don't do that.
why they should respect women. And it's crazy because I know there's going to be people, well, it was a joke. What's funny about that?
Like, where is like
What
that's-
is about it that's funny?
Actually.
And that's what I say to a lot of people, especially if they're like, oh, you
As a
can't say
funny
anything,
person,
like
you know.
blah blah blah, like nobody laughs at anything, and then they'll make a joke that isn't funny because there's no actual joke in it.
Yes.
And then get mad when people don't find them clever.
Yes.
And my response is always like, okay, so what was the joke?
Like you actually lay it
I
out.
I want you to explain to me where the part that is funny.
Yeah.
And that's my response to a lot of people when they get like defensive because other people aren't laughing.
What if they say back? I need to know.
It's just all projecting and blaming.
Oh, blaming. You just don't get a good joke.
Like,
you
I'm
just
not
don't
going
know.
to explain this to you if you don't get it.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
I guess I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get your joke.
How do you do comedy? You just don't get it.
Sorry. Yeah.
Crazy.
We're going to take a quick break and hear from our sponsor. The absolute scariest part about starting a big project, whether it be a podcast or a business, is doing it all completely on your own. It's so daunting and intimidating. Like, where do I start? Listen, if I had a tool like Shopify when I was just getting started, that would have been a game changer. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the United States. With Shopify, you can do so many things, like you can get started in your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates, accelerate your content creation with helpful AI tools that will write your own product descriptions, write page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. And you can get the word out like you have your own marketing team behind you. And best of yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise from everything from managing inventory, processing returns, and so much more. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your business into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/Rebecca. Go to shopify.com/Rebecca. Shopify.com/Rebecca. Now, back to the episode. So you don't do the apps anymore. When's the last time you did apps?
Like I have Raya, but like
Yeah, I have
was
Raya.
talking about it, like it's kind of just like networky, and I'm just waiting till the subscription is like done.
A lot of people don't know what Raya is.
Oh, okay. Raya is a dating app that was like it was like an app, you had to do an application process, and it was for like a smaller group of people that I think initially started out as like artists, and then it became like musicians, and
Athletes,
famous people, and
musicians,
It was like
stars,
people for
creators.
status
Yeah.
wanted to do dating apps but couldn't be on the regular like Tinder or Hinge because everyone was just like, oh, that's a famous person. But it was like,
but now it's become oversaturated, and
well, like when it first started, it like people like Drew Barrymore were on it, and she was talking about it, I think, on her
you
show.
can still swipe right on Diplo. He does pop up. He will pop up for you, and he will be there, and will never respond to it.
Yeah.
He's there. His little face. Every single woman, it's canon.
But there's like, it's connected to your social media. So then you became kind of like, from what I understand, like for people who did social media and they needed a following. But like, I am someone who I was never able to get onto Raya. I have so many, like I originally applied when I didn't have a huge following or anything.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any referrals because that's kind of like how they vet you. But last time I checked, which was years ago, I had tons of referrals. I was still on the wait list, and I was like, I guess I'm not hot enough for Raya.
Not it.
It took me almost a year to get on it.
There was like, because I know people that like, I know like men that like aren't particularly attractive, that like don't have jobs, that
Correct.
don't have social media followings,
Yes.
that are on it. And
It's
I'm
like,
like,
how?
That's why the
Why?
system got like
Yeah.
messy, because now it's this weird like mix,
Yeah.
and it feels networky, and then like I don't know, it's whatever. So like I haven't re-downloaded like Hinge or Tinder or anything in
You're not missing anything.
years. I think I dated somebody in 2023 for briefly that I met on Hinge, and it actually was like it was decent. I have some interesting stories from that.
Oh, yeah?
But after that, I was like, I just don't think I'm gonna do dating apps. And then I was seeing somebody for this whole last year, and like that kind of I was just like, I just don't think my husband's on a dating app.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
well,
You know?
I'm trying to think of the last time I went out with a guy on a dating app. And I think it had to be like 2018, maybe.
Pre-COVID.
And yeah,
Wow.
pre-COVID, like
That's wild.
a year or two before
7
COVID.
years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that crazy?
And the guy seemed nice. He was like a little touchy, but I was definitely, I was like, I'll see him again, maybe. And I was trying to decide. And it turns out that we were both going to a baseball game the next day. And I was going with some friends. He was going to be there with but like his job had like a box there or something.
Right.
And he was like,
Nice.
let's grab a beer like at the 7th inning stretch. And I was like, yeah, it would be fun to just like meet somewhere in the middle, stop by, maybe grab a drink, hang out for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh no, just come to the box because
Box.
I was like, I'll go to the box. He's like, the beer here is free. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? He had to like come out and get me. And I had only met this man once the day before. We're walking, almost getting to the door of the box, and he stops, turns around, and he grabs
dear.
me and he kisses me.
Yes.
Oh.
And I was like,
Going.
whoa. And he was like, sorry, I just wanted to get that out of the way because like my mom is in there and I don't want to be like too touchy-feely in front of her. And I was like, what? Because
Oh.
apparently he worked for the company that he works for, his mom owned or something like that. So he was
Oh.
working for his mom.
Apparently.
Yeah. And then
Oh.
I have to just go inside and immediately meet this man's mother.
Yeah.
And like,
Didn't warn you or anything.
no, his mom was so lovely. She loved me, like from what I remember. And like it was clear that the mom had been vetted and knew he was like going to bring a girl.
Wow.
And I was just like,
Oh, no.
No.
That'd be so interesting.
No.
look, no. Like one, no.
No.
The kissing you thing, I don't know what that is. I've had a couple of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's like either they like just feel like they need to check it off, or like either the date did go well or it didn't go well, and then they just feel like they just want to like feel like something happened.
I
And
think
so
it's
there's this,
like
a tack kiss sometimes that happens. And
it's
I'm
like
we can just
We
leave.
just part ways.
I think it's
okay.
like jumping into the ocean, the Pacific Ocean, because it's freezing. You have to like jump in and get your head wet in order for it to regulate the rest of your temperature. Otherwise, it's just cold.
But I don't know you.
And I feel like it's their instinct of like, I just got to get this out of the way and I'm going to go for it. And it's like, whoa, boundaries.
I like.
It's like I think they genuinely believe it's romantic,
Yeah.
and it's
This isn't
not.
all. This isn't all. This was only
No,
happened like
yeah.
Yes, it's not.
2-3
But
times.
the guys who see
Yeah.
no problem with like
Yeah.
just like randomly like yeah like oh like they can't keep their hands to themselves, and they think like someone sent me a story a long time ago about how she was going on this date with this guy, and he came to pick her up, and they went to go get into his car, and as soon as she got into the car, like she was already feeling a little uncomfortable, and he looks over at her in the driver's seat and he goes, "You nervous?" And she goes,
Now I
"Yeah, like I'll
Should I be?
Why?"
Now I'm panicked. Are you gonna kill me?
Well, she was like, "Do I look nervous?" And he goes, "Yeah, you look." Well, you look a little nervous, but you know, when you entered the door and I went to hug you and I grabbed your booty and you didn't even like say anything. And she was like, I didn't know what to say. And he's like, well, I mean, you could have said something. She said, well, did you want me to thank you? Like, I just met you
That's like
and
kind
you
of
grabbed
that's
me.
a
Like,
scope.
yeah.
It's like you
Yeah.
just
You
And he-
unsolicitedly.
Genuinely was like, you didn't even say anything. She's like, you know what? That's my bad. I'll say something now. goodbye, and just got out of the
Got out of the
car,
car.
went back inside. She's like, no, this is the.
I once when I was like 23 or 24, I went out with a guy that I had met on some dating app who was like in his mid 30s. So right off the bat, probably should not have been dating me. We never like dated, but we had gone out a couple times, and we went to see a show at the Comedy Store. And he had gone to the bathroom, and I was there and recognized one of my acting coaches, who's like kind of like a mentor to me.
Okay.
And my acting coach at the time was kind enough to keep me company while this guy was in the bathroom. He comes out and he sees me like just not like even flirty,
Yeah, just
like
existing with the.
talking to a guy. And then
Oh dear.
we end up leaving, and we
Oh,
go
no.
grab a drink at like Saddle Ranch.
Yeah.
And while we're there, this guy just starts berating me.
Oh, no.
And he goes,
Oh.
oh my God, you're just like every other girl out there. You're just an actress who's just desperate for attention from any man. And he starts berating me. And I had picked this man up in my car. And this was
No.
before Uber. This was before
He can get a
Uber.
taxi. He can get a taxi.
I didn't know what to do because I was like a child, and I was like stunned, and I started crying, and I just like paid for the tab, and then was like, okay, I'm going to take you home.
oh my god.
We're walking down Sunset,
Oh dear.
and it's dead silent. I'm trying not to cry, and then he grabs my arm and tries to kiss me.
Oh my
What?
As if it's some
Why do they think it's so romantic?
It was
It's
like
not.
as if you're in some big
Like
passionate fight, and then he wants to grab, and I was like, get the off me.
These stories are much more. I came to this thinking I was prepared. I'm not. These are better. These are better.
I tell you, I honestly
Crazy.
did not remember that happened until right now when we're talking about grabbing and kissing. And I was like, that happened to me when I was 23 after this guy basically
Yelled
called me a whore. Sorry, basically.
It's okay. It's okay.
But like basically like tried to slut shame me because one of my mentors saw me standing alone as a young woman and was like, I'm gonna make sure she's fine.
Yeah,
It was
no,
the craziest thing.
That is great. Okay, genuine question. And there's not really right or wrong answer. I'm genuinely just curious. When do you think is an acceptable time for like a guy that you just started seeing to kiss you?
When it feels like you guys are ready to kiss each other.
Well, they clearly don't know when that is.
Sometimes.
They don't. They don't always know when that is.
When normal people are on a date,
Yeah.
then you have a feeling, you have a moment. Maybe you like kind of feel it, but you don't do it right then. You wait till the next time, and sometimes they ask. I think asking.
I think his
kinda
asking
nice.
is sweet.
Yeah.
And there is people like, oh, asking ruins it. Not if you
Not-
do it
Not if
gently.
you're not, if you're
They
not
do
smooth,
it
just
way.
say that.
Yeah,
If you're not smooth, just say that.
Learn how to be smooth. Learn to be like peanut butter without.
If you have to like grab someone and pull them, that's not the moment.
No,
That's not the right
not.
time.
Because also, like, I think that there is something really sexy about, like, kind of the slow moving.
Yeah.
Because one, if the vibe isn't there,
You can back up.
you know before you get there.
Yeah.
But also, there's something lovely about that anticipation of,
And
like,
there's kind of
that rush of, like, this is it. This is, like,
Yeah.
because if you want it, like, if I want a guy to kiss me,
Yeah.
a lot of, like, I have already thought about it. I've already thought about it.
Right now, just quick insert, I'm realizing like how like slightly dead inside I am because like that feeling, like I've had that and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, it's been so long.
Oh
Well,
Oh no.
because my issue had been for years that I was only kind of seeing people that were emotionally
Unavailable.
emotionally unavailable.
Yeah.
no. Yeah.
And I was attracted to partners that were emotionally unavailable.
I thought that meant they were like complex and interesting.
And it's
there were
not.
vast reservoirs of feelings that we just had to like.
No.
And I was always like getting butterflies, but it turns out that was just anxiety because I was seeing someone that
Yeah.
could care less.
Yeah.
And I think because I was dating emotionally unavailable partners for so long, I couldn't get excited about anything because every time I would, it'd be like, I kind of like this guy. I hope that something happens.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden he'd like pull back, or the second I'd feel a connection,
Yeah.
I would get the pullback. And so I
Yeah.
started numbing myself to feeling excited.
How?
because-
Okay, go ahead. Okay, I have a question. Continue.
Yeah,
I have a
but-
question.
and then once I did start dating someone who was emotionally available and just like excited to be around me,
Yeah.
I would have these moments where I was like, I wish I was more excited, but I'm so afraid that my feelings are going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And because it's so early, I don't know if this is genuine or not, or if it's going to be that thing where we're going to have this crazy 3 weeks where I feel so close to you, and then you're going to disappear forever, and I'll never know why. And I'll always be like, what happened?
Yeah. I don't know. The noticing emotional unavailability in early stages, I feel like, is also like a tool, because if you're really excited about something and they
Yes.
immediately like deck you for it a little bit,
Is that a sign? Because that was my question, is like, what are, because I don't know. I haven't had to do this in a really long time. Like, what are signs of emotionally unavailable men?
I mean, a little bit of that.
So like, just like bringing you down when you're excited about something?
Yeah, but also like, I feel like everyone's different.
Okay.
But there can be like little checklists that like they don't even realize they have, but like if you say something or rub them the wrong way, then they'll use that as a reason to like pull back. And
Yeah.
then it's like, oh, you did something wrong because you did this, and you're like, I'm just existing. So
Well, I don't know. This made me feel weird. So like, give me a second, and you're like, oh,
what did I?
and then you're like, oh, this person is sensitive, or like, I should do this, I should change, and
Like,
it's like,
I need to adjust, and then you just completely like end up polishing down or numbing down all of these factors of yourself.
Okay.
Because you're like, I'm so afraid I'm gonna like step on a landmine that will then make you upset,
Interesting.
which I just had to get out of.
Right.
And like all these things of me just being a woman, being a performer, being a this, and I would just like say something, do something, and then like I would get this shut down, and I was like, what did I do?
yeah.
What did I do? What did I do? Like, I don't even know what I just did. And he's like, you don't know like why I'm upset. I'm like, no, what happened?
No.
I don't understand.
If you're upset, what I need from you is to say, hey,
Yeah.
this is how I'm feeling because of this situation. And if it's something that I can fix, then great. If I need to be more aware or do something. But it's also, if the thing you need is like, oh, we have different priorities. And that's also fair.
Yes.
Not everything has to be like good guy, bad guy.
No.
We can just exist and have different priorities and
Yeah.
want to feel different things.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah. And then it coexist having different priorities, and which priorities are so important that you can't coexist with them differently versus not, which is a whole other
That
thing.
makes
And
sense.
I stay too long because I'm just like, oh, but okay, but I could be fine if I adjust these things.
Yeah.
Or like,
it doesn't work out that way.
what I've noticed a lot with like some of the emotionally available men, because also I say the word emotionally unavailable. They were emotionally unavailable to me.
Correct.
That doesn't necessarily mean that they're emotionally unavailable in general.
Yeah.
But I've noticed of like, in the past I'd meet someone like them, and they would be excited and very like available and want to talk quite often.
Yeah.
And would instigate making plans.
Yeah.
And then they would still kind of be talking to me, but instigating the plans would kind of drop out. And I'd be like, oh, well, maybe I should instigate.
The gaps.
It's possible that they're kind of wondering if I'm interested, because maybe I should make sure that I look more interested. And then I would start instigating, and then I would realize that like I'm instigating a lot, and
It's not
their communication has become splotchy. It would be like little check-ins here or there, and a lot of the times and people get busy, but a lot of the times what I've noticed with men is they'll like me, but especially if we're not tied down, they might start talking to another girl and be like, oh, I like her too. And they don't want to let me go. They still want to make sure that I'm available, because it's like, and dating is dating, especially if you're not in a committed relationship.
Yeah, I mean, that's
like
the point of dating.
Yes,
I think it's interesting when
dating.
go on 1 or 2 dates and they're like, oh, I'm dating this one person. I'm like,
Yeah.
you could still go to dinner with another person.
Yeah.
Certainly.
If you're not, you had a
also,
discussion
the
about
serial
exclusivity.
daters.
Yeah. But that like what I feel like I've been in the position with a couple men.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, all of a sudden a lot of the times I felt that, oh, I'm getting the vibe that someone else has your attention.
Yeah.
And you're still like checking in little bits here and there.
Breadcrumbing you.
But it's also it gets to the point where it's the bare minimum. And it's happened to me a couple times where I get like such a below minimum text from someone that I've barely
What's up?
heard from. And I say to myself, I did feel like I had a connection with this person, but I do feel like if I don't respond to this one text, I'll probably not hear from them again. Yeah. And the thing is in that situation, especially where someone has become more unavailable, because one, I forget to respond to texts all the time.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
if I really like someone and they don't respond to one text, I'll send another eventually.
Yes.
So when it's a text that I get that's like so bare minimum after not hearing from them for a while, and I'm like, oh, I bet if I don't respond, I'll
never
hear
hear
back.
from them again.
And I've always been right about that. And that's fine. And I also don't fault those men for anything. But I'm also
That's a reality of dating.
yeah. And
As
I'm
an
also
adult.
like, I don't take it personally. Even if a man is like, I'm just not ready to be in a relationship.
Sure.
My response is always, that's so great. I am. And I'm not going to settle. And like, but we can still we can still hang out. And I'm like, no, because also with a lot of those men that have said that to me, they end up in relationships very quickly after that.
Interesting.
And I never take that personally because I know it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Obviously, people end up in places where they cannot be in relationships. I felt that way before.
Yeah.
I just haven't had the capacity for it. But also because that has happened to me where men have been like, I'm just not ready. And I'm like, that's so great. I wish you the best. I think you're a great guy.
Yeah.
And then watch him get into a relationship. I'm like, I know that it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And that's not my person.
I think the hardest thing to like grasp, I don't know if it's because we're like coded maybe like biologically to like be the frogs in my throat. The frogs in our throat. Rivet.
Sorry.
To be moms, to like keep the family together, to be loving,
Be
to be nurtured or
caregivers,
whatever.
yeah.
But to like, I don't know, keep trying to fix the situation, and so any like feedback is given, it's like, oh, I must adjust something.
Yeah.
But like truly, if you can separate a guy's opinion about you from you, it's so much layer. Because if a guy doesn't like you, who cares?
Yeah.
He doesn't, and he's never going to. Nothing's going to change his mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Well, also
where they feel about you.
How many times have I liked a guy or felt like there's been a connection and thought so highly of him?
Yeah.
And then once
I'm sorry.
so popular. But then like once I realize nothing's happening, I step away. I like lose those rose colored glasses.
Yes.
And then I've been like,
oh,
I had your own.
I was not
pedestal.
looking at you objectively. And that's great because like if you really care about someone, you should think they're the best.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I love that. But also it's so funny to
Into trouble though.
kind of look at the list sometimes and be like,
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh no.
oh no.
The most
Yeah.
scary thing for me that I've experienced is, you know, the last time that I dated was when we were all, I was 17, you know, I was in high school. I know. I was 17 years old.
Oh, it's so
And so, like, everyone knows everybody. Everyone knows who each other is, you know? And, like, now going into it blind with, like, complete strangers, it's so scary because there's been a couple times that I've been out and I had a good time, right? And then, you know, I love that you can now do your homework and you, like, obviously beforehand I would go online and check them out, make sure they're not a serial killer or anything.
Google, LinkedIn.
But then after, if I've had a good time, I do look at LinkedIn very often.
Michaela's dying on the LinkedIn hill.
I look at LinkedIn all the time.
Corporate bodies will agree with me.
I'm telling you, it just feels like an HR violation. But afterwards, I love the group. It's called Are We Dating the Same Guy?
Yes, on Facebook.
And I love, like, if I have a good time,
You're
I
gonna get kicked
wanna
out of our
ask.
group for saying it.
well, no, you can talk about the group. You just can't talk about what's in it, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I don't know.
you just don't talk about what's in it. And I think it's very helpful. It's a group that was originally created to help women figure out, like, if their
cheating on them or
significant other was
Yeah.
cheating on them, or if you're dating the same guy, or anyone who has, like, hey, this guy physically harmed me, just be aware. Like, that I think is so important. Are there people who use and abuse it to try and just bash an ex because they don't want them to move on? Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah.
Are there also people who will go and, like, share with the guys, like, oh, you'll never believe what this woman said about me? Yeah, and I think that's just as harmful.
It is.
But if I have a good time with somebody, I like to look. And the number of times that I've, like, gone out with somebody and, like, really enjoyed my time and then come back and, oh yeah, he was married and, like, cheated on his wife 9 times. Oh,
Ooh.
okay. Or yeah, he was arrested 3 times. And it's like, what? Like,
Yeah.
what? Like, it's so scary not having this information.
But also, is this like a lack of parenting thing? You know, like boys were given the excuse, and so because like who raised the men?
Whose children are these? Whose
children?
sons are
That's what I'm
these?
saying. And like, where did this come from? Did this come direct from like
Crazy.
a paternal figure and it just example, or is this just from society?
I
And,
don't
like,
know.
what's going on.
Because like my brother would never.
No, he would not.
My brother's a sweetie.
He's a sweetie.
Your brother's a
He
sweetie.
is indeed a sweetie.
She is a lucky lady.
We're just gonna put a little disclaimer in here, okay? There are lots of wonderful gentlemen
Yes.
who exist.
Oh
in the
my
world,
God,
okay?
yeah.
This is not an all men.
Absolutely.
Here's the thing. I love men. I love men.
Yeah, we want to
men.
date men, but just not bad ones.
Yeah. And so the bad ones are really like, what is going on? Because you know we know the good ones also exist, and so
Yeah.
where did the bad ones come from?
Yeah.
Who raised them?
Who's teaching them that this
Who's
is
our
okay
parents?
behavior?
I have some phone calls to make.
And I feel so bad because I like do have a good one right now. He's like so lovely.
Yeah.
Like he would never do anything
Congratulations.
wrong in his life.
No.
Like he does things that like he's just so kind that sometimes like especially at first I was like,
You're like, you're so nice.
what's
wrong with you?
I was like, what is it? Like
Yeah.
what are you trying to get?
Yeah.
And then he was like, what
What do you mean? I just want your attention.
I just like you. And I'm like, I don't believe that for 1 second. Nobody likes me.
But that's what dating so many bad ones and see like
Yeah.
having that experience, that's what it does.
Well,
And all of a sudden I'm like with this guy who I had to be like, you are not allowed to make me breakfast in bed every morning
why not?
because I was staying too long in bed every day. I was like, I love this, but now I'm just like
No, I am a sloth.
in bed all like an extra hour being like, I have my tea and he'll be back with my avocado toast. It's very soon. And I can prop my bed up, it rises. And so I can eat. And then he'd carry the TV upstairs and I could watch my cartoons. And I was like, it's a weekday. It's 10 a.m. on a weekday. I got to get out of bed.
That's so funny.
Oh
That is
my
so
God.
sweet. I'm back to the comment of like the being exciting about that moment before you kiss somebody.
Yeah.
I'm realizing like I unfortunately like I've just arrived here, but like we talked about this briefly, but like I've realized I'm not sure if anyone who I've dated has actually really loved me.
Oh.
I've felt that way.
And I'm like, oh, and I don't mean that in like like no one loves me. I don't mean it like that. I mean like, oh, I think I did so much of the legwork and filled in the gaps of what was missing. And then when I stopped doing that because I got tired and then it fell apart, like I don't think they actually did. And that's so sad to like realize, but also a good wake up call. But then also moving forward, I'm gonna be like so cautious when somebody like does. I'm like, do you?
Yeah.
I'll go. Because of current legal proceedings, no comment.
Yeah.
I'm just no
But
comment.
that's it. The no comment is the comment. Yeah. So,
It's so, I can only imagine that is the worst feeling ever.
Yeah. Well, because
and
I
feel so sad, and I'm like, oh, I feel so crappy.
Yeah.
Letting myself
And I-
stay there.
Yes. Well, you don't
know,
even
I
realize because I feel like for individuals like that, and I feel like that can happen to both men and women.
Yeah, of course. Oh
When you have that much love to give, you like in a
Yeah.
way kind of fool yourself into making yourself feel loved because
Yeah.
you just have so much of it and it
Yes.
radiates off of you and you're
Yes.
like, I feel the love, and I was like, wait, that's from me.
most of the good things that
Yeah.
happen.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, and I've been in the situation where I've been in relationships that have just kind of died while I was still in them. And
Happens.
had realizations multiple times after years of like, I don't think the person I'm dating likes me.
Which is
Like,
beyond
I
more
just-
important than the
Then,
love.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because also,
Yeah.
in the situations where I was like, I don't know if this person ever really did love me, it has more to do with, for me, that they had their own demons that they were fighting.
Yeah.
And not that they like didn't care, but they were just
They could only
doing
care to the capacity
their
they're
best
capable.
because of like these kind of like invisible monsters that I was like maybe a little too young to understand and
Yes.
nurture at that point. But also it wasn't necessarily my
Your
job
job.
to nurture those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is something that in general is a huge continuous issue with women, adult women dating,
Mhm.
is that even when I look at just profiles on a lot of these apps, so many guys, whether they realize it or not, are really just looking for another mom. And like, I don't want to be someone's mom. I want to be someone's partner.
And not even in just like like a normal domestic way of like laundry, whatever. It's like emotionally
You need
like a
like
safe
emotional-
space
Yeah.
where they can like
Yeah.
find like home. And I'm like, you need to find home in you first,
Yes.
and then you guys build your own home
Right.
together.
Exactly.
That concept, but that's hard. See, that's hard because I keep running into this too, where like, guy I dated in New York. If there's an easier, funner option, and they're close to each other and they can kind of pick, there's an option, they're gonna pick the easier, funner one. Like 99% of the time, I think doing the work of like being like, hold on, who am I? Who do I want to be?
Yeah.
Let me actually deconstruct all this crap and build myself into a better person
Yeah.
and care about that.
Well, that's something that Karen and I have
Multiple
talked about a
times.
lot, is that when it comes to individuals in general, not just men, people tend to have to do work on themselves.
Yeah.
But they have to do that work for themselves. Like they have to want to do it for themselves. It can't be for somebody else,
No.
because it's not going to stick.
Nope.
And they're not going to approach it with the same passion.
No.
They don't want it. And it's just like when I did a podcast episode with my friend Tiffany. She was a recovering addict. She knew the first time I did rehab, it didn't stick because she went for her family. She didn't go for herself. And it wasn't until she wanted it that it stuck. And I feel like people tend to equate that with an extreme example.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be. That's with any inner
any
work
decision.
in general. If it's not for yourself, you're not going to put in the same kind of effort, commitment, passion, anything.
Well, and I'm someone who, I've done like an insane amount of work on myself. I went through a really difficult period in my 20s where a couple family members died. I got into the worst relationship I've ever been in that was like physically harmful and very physically violent. And it messed me up for years.
Yeah.
And I had been to therapy and I thought it was helping, and it really wasn't, because I was in the wrong kind of therapy. I found the right kind of therapy, which was EMDR therapy, and it changed my
What is that? What is that?
eye movement desensitization and reprocessing.
Oh.
So it is invented by a woman.
Yeah.
I love that. But she was basically like, it's weird. I fall asleep angry. And I wake up and I'm not so angry anymore if there's something on my mind.
Yeah.
So what is happening during a REM sleep cycle that is helping me process some of that stuff? So she started exploring how rapid eye movement, in order to reprocess harmful neuropathways that you have in your brain, in order to kind of get at the bottom of, so when like I was diagnosed with CPTSD, I would have this big reactions to very small things. And it's because I had a neuropathway that was deeply ingrained in my brain that would say, if this is happening, you're
This
dying.
means you're.
Oh, wow.
And so, and like having CPTSD, like didn't always make me a great person. I was so defensive.
Yeah.
I consider, like I have never been I'm not an addict. I've never been an addict. I've had severe depression my entire life. I've been diagnosed with PSD, CPTSD, CP.
There's a lot of letters. There's a lot of letters.
NPD, PNDD, like all of it.
Yeah.
All so many.
All the
letters,
things.
so
All
many
the
letters.
things.
And I was so depressed. And now on the other side, where I don't have depression anymore, I describe my relationship with depression as the closest I've ever felt to addiction.
Yeah.
Because it was like I was addicted to feeling bad, because I didn't believe I could feel better.
Emotional cycles are definitely a version of
Yeah.
addiction
Yeah.
too, and like self-sabotage or self-inflicted
Yeah.
harm / rose
Exactly.
code.
Yeah.
It is a similar. It's addiction in its own
It's
way.
insane. And what I do know about myself is, now that I'm on the other side, I would never make the choices and date the kind of people that I was
Yes.
when I was depressed. And that's, I think, one of the reasons I was able to like meet someone in more recent years, because I was healthy, you know? And that's like a game changer, because I was accepting such bad behavior from men because I was just trying to appease people.
Yes.
And I was so desperate to be loved, because I truly didn't love myself. And I would get into like bad fights, or like I was blaming myself for so many things.
Yeah.
And I sometimes think about that person because I feel like even in the last 2 or 3 years, completely different person, but night or day.
Yeah.
I feel
And
that.
I think like one of the biggest places I can see it is like just how I handle romantic relationships. I'm so different than I used to be. And I don't have that level of like desperation of like, oh, I really like this guy. So
I just want him to
like, yeah, I just want to like, yeah, it's okay if he doesn't want something serious. Like, would I want something serious with him? Yeah, but like if he's not ready for that, I just like want to spend time with him, and I'll be patient. Maybe he'll change his mind. And I got into a relationship like that where the guy was like, I don't really want to be in a relationship. I got into 2 relationships like that. And in both of those relationships, that even though I did end up in those relationships and I wanted to, it started with this foundation of I don't really want to be with you. And sometimes even in those relationships, it was
You would feel
kind of relying on, oh, I didn't even really have time for this. So I like don't know why we're having this conversation, or like, and it really did feed into how I ended up feeling in those relationships, which was just terribly alone. And now as like someone who's like as an adult, or just like someone who is more healed, I even if I really like someone and he's like I'm like I know where that road leads to for me, and I just don't have the time for it because I want to be with someone who is so excited to be with
I
me.
think that's the hard. There are 3 things. One, the fact that like physical therapy is part of the emotional therapy, which I think is a little bit maybe considered more Eastern if you want to, or hippy dippy or whatever. Because people, you talk about it, you journal, whatever. It's like no, there are physical like codings for things. Like you need to work. That's why you feel better after you work out. That's why like there's all these little things to release. 2, that guys, I think there's of course fluid spectrum, of course, but like if you're a straight guy, I think being healthy means like you go to the gym, you have your bros, you like look fit, you take care of your whatever. Like there's really not like, again, we're back to the nurturing thing. Like I feel like it's very feminine to like really sit and like take a moment and recode. That feels
What
too
am I
much.
feeling? Why am I feeling
Why am I
this?
feeling it? All that feels like too mushy gushy. I need to just like get my shit together and like power through and have a good job and like go to make sure I'm staying fit and doing this and like all these like checklisty things almost, instead of just like sitting in it for a second.
Yeah, and just being.
Just
like
be.
just processing in
Just be,
general. Like where am I? What am I doing? What do I want?
Yeah.
I
But
feel
it's so
like
hard for people to walk away though. Like that instance at the beginning, like as soon as you hear the thing you don't want to hear, you have to walk away. But that is so hard because you're like, but I wanted.
and maybe they can
No.
do different, and maybe they change their mind.
Yeah,
Like that's
like
so
I'm
hard.
right patient, and then you're sitting there while like they're sleeping with other people.
Yeah. It's just
Being like, well, he's not my boyfriend, and it's like,
Can't be mad about it.
yeah.
and it's like, but don't.
Yeah. But you also have to know what you want, and that comes with the healing.
So then, at what point do you think it's fair to expect like a conversation about exclusivity?
I think from the get-go, it'll be very clear if you guys are on the same page for what you guys want.
Okay.
Yeah.
First date.
Really?
Or
Okay.
talking.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking for my husband.
Oh yeah,
Therefore,
absolutely.
They're looking for their wife. That doesn't mean the first date after we're going to be exclusive at the first
Oh
date.
yeah. But you have an
Very
idea.
clear that like I'm looking for the person who wants to raise children with me and build a home with me.
Yeah.
And that's going to be very clear from them and from me very instantaneously.
So then, at what point do you expect that kind of like, hey, it's just you and me commitment?
I think that's different for every person. But like if you really care about somebody and it's going well, I would say
you wouldn't want
it happens
yeah.
quickly. Every people who I know, who I talk, all the people I've talked to who've been in long-term relationships, I've been like a little obsessed. I thought about making a series, but then that was too much pressure because there's too much going on. But like every time I meet somebody who's like, oh, I'm like my husband, we've been together for like 20 years. And I'm like, I want to know how you met and I want to know how they were the one. How you do.
Yeah.
And every single one of them, they knew pretty quickly. Either within the span of the first couple of dates or the first couple of months. And that's the bracket.
Interesting.
For everyone who's been together for a long time, it was like, yeah, we're doing this.
Well, and what I've always felt about like when it comes to like, should I have the exclusivity conversation in every relationship that I've been in, where I was like, nervous and I was like kind of desperate for it. I was always coming if I was
Panicky.
and that's what it is for me is if I'm coming from a place of anxiety, when I'm like, I want to be exclusive,
Right.
it's always been tied with kind of like a desperation in me. And those have always been things that don't work out because, and like, who knows what's going to happen in my life. But with my partner now, it was like, it was easy. And he was patient with me because I wasn't like, yeah, let's be exclusive. I was like, it's not that I'm not okay with that and I'm not seeing anyone else. I'm just really scared. I'm so scared.
Because there's so
And
many
he was
red
like-
flags that it's like it makes you scared of the green ones. Like I'm not used to this. What is
Yeah.
this?
Is it real green or did you paint it?
And it, yes, literally.
And I was like, and he was so wonderful. He was like, yeah, take all the time you need. But also in that moment when I was like, I'm not ready to call this like a full-fledged relationship. It wasn't because I was weighing my options.
Right.
And
Yeah, your reasoning was
I was like very
sure
upfront
about
with
you.
like, I'm just scared. I haven't been in a relationship in years.
Yeah.
I don't really know how this works. I'm frightened of that. And also like some of my biggest fears came from like, I don't want to get so excited and like introduce this guy to everyone and then have him just like peace out and you just never really know.
That feels bad.
Yeah.
It feels so bad.
But in that conversation where we were like, should we be exclusive? And I just truly wasn't ready. I was honest about that, but I also went out of my way to make sure that like, if he was feeling anxiety about that, that he was taken care of, that it wasn't about sleeping with other people or like needing freedom. It's just like, I have been so defensive for so long. And also I think a part of me dating unavailable partners was because I was unavailable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so I couldn't date someone who liked me because it was too much pressure. And it was so much easier to date men that weren't that interested because I could just let them walk away and I would never have to end anything. And then I'd be like, well, I'm like, my feelings are hurt, but I'm fine and I can take care of myself and I'll move on. But it was my own emotional unavailability that like I was looking for in other people.
And I've had a hard time trying to navigate how much of that is present or not present in me because I thought about that. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense because also you kind of attract where you're at. Like if you each other as a mirror, and so there's similarities a little bit at least. But then I'm like, am I emotionally unavailable because I feel like I pour too much? But the guy there must be some portion of that that's like fake, meaning I'm not like authentically available. Maybe I don't know. Like I'm trying to and see. I feel so mean. Like there have been some like nice guys, but that I've just not been interested in, and I'm like, am I not interested in them because I just genuinely like don't think that we're compatible, or like because I was not interested because it felt boring? But then where does attraction come into all of this? Because like being like, I would totally kiss you. Like, I feel like I need to feel that. Yes, it can grow. Like, you don't,
I feel like
I've dated lots of different kinds of looking people.
the better a person is, I feel like you start to find them more attractive and you really enjoy their personality.
And so maybe I have not allowed that to happen.
Okay.
Maybe enough because, like, the initial, I don't need crazy fireworks. I just don't know if I've, like, genuinely not found them attractive, like, enough because there wasn't, like, enough of a spark. And I was like, I just don't think I'd ever get to the point where I'd, like, want to physically be with this person. But maybe that's also too shallow. Like, maybe I'm also shallow. And so then
No,
I've also
I don't
attracted
find
people
it-
who are a little shallow, too.
I don't find it shallow to want to be attracted to the person that you're with. Like there should be that level of attraction.
But to what extent, too? Because, like...
Well, because what I'll say is
I
like,
don't know.
I've dated people before that I was like, this guy's great. He's such a great person and he really likes me. I'm not super attracted to him, but like maybe it will grow. And then it hasn't. And then and then I became kind of claustrophobic. And ultimately, I think in dating, I think you should be kind, but you don't have to do anyone favors.
Yeah, no.
You don't have to be like, well, this person's so great that like I owe it to them to try. Because if it's just not there for you, that's not something.
Yeah, no.
Speaking of, though, the fun switch ups, I feel like females are used to that. The like, oh, somebody just might not be attracted to me. okay. Guys seem to take it a lot more personally sometimes. I feel like we've heard the stories of like in bars and things where it's like the switch of like, hey, like about drinking, like, oh, I'm not interested. Well, you're ugly anyway, or whatever.
Like, there's a great SNL sketch about this where Cecily Strong goes to a bar and a guy's wearing like a feminism shirt and he's like, oh, hey, sorry. And she's like, oh, I like your shirt. And he's like, yeah, thanks. Here's the thing about like women's struggles. It's just, you blah, blah, blah. And she was like, that's really cool. And he's like, so can I buy you a drink? And she's like, no, thanks. And he's like, bitch.
Yeah, literally.
And that like it happens to her 3 or 4 times in a row. It's just like,
A guy on Instagram who DM'd me, I don't know, he's like a fitness influencer. I don't fucking know. I don't know. Anyway, but he kind of came out of the blue, very charming, whatever. Mentioned something about like, oh, like, you know, like your work, you came up on my something, like something, and I like your stuff on TikTok. It's funny. I was like, oh, cool, thanks, whatever. And then we like kind of went back and forth. I was busy. It wasn't consistent. And then somewhere, I can't remember the exact message. I believe I blocked him. That gives you a clear indication where this is going. He like asked something about like how my heart is doing, or like if he could actually take me out on a date, like when I'm back in LA and like all this stuff. And I was just like, no, thank you. Like, you know, I'm not really sure if we'd be. I can't remember. I think I said like this too early because he didn't feel like maybe I knew him well enough or something. But I was just like, I'm, you know, not sure I'm interested. I'm not sure if we'd be the most compatible. Just because like I stalked his page. I looked at the, you know, his vibe. There were a couple of videos that were a little like, I don't know. And so it's like, okay, I just, not based off of looks, just like how he was talking to somebody or connected, whatever. And it just, that switch, and then he switched and he was like, why not? Like, you don't even know me. That's really weird to just like say out of the gate. Like, you didn't even give me a chance. And I was like,
Whoa, I don't owe you a chance. I don't owe you
actually,
anything.
like, literally don't have to.
literally.
You're not entitled to any of my time or my energy.
Yeah, no.
I'm not like,
No.
it's not like you pay a dime and you get to ride the ride.
And then it dragged into
I'm a
this whole
human
thing
being.
where he's like, I saw you crying on TikTok about like your ex, you know, last year and being upset about that. And then like this nice guy like wants to take you out on a date and you shut him down. Like clearly you're the it like turned and he like kept going. I was
So
like,
you're not a nice
Oh,
guy.
no.
That's not
so
what you
I was
are.
right.
If you have
Okay.
to convince other people that you're a nice guy,
Yes.
you're not a nice guy.
Yeah.
And that
Also,
just is
like,
what it is.
I am sure there are people out there. Sorry. I'm sure there are people out there that don't like me, that think I'm crazy, that like.
there's some
have, like-
oh yeah.
But I'm also a firm believer in I will let people keep their opinions about
Yep.
me.
Mhm.
If that's the
Okay.
opinion you have,
That's fine.
you're allowed to have that, and that's okay. And
that's
I'm
a hard place to get to too, though. Like as a people pleaser, as a performer,
You're right, yeah.
especially, and your audience is supposed to like your show,
yeah.
and then people have like this terrible opinion, it just, you know, because they want to.
Because they want to.
Because they want to. They don't like you, whatever. And you can't change that.
Yeah.
And you just have to be okay with some of the audience members
Yeah.
and them liking your show.
And it took me a long time to get there.
Yeah.
So hard.
Yeah.
I just realized how much of my energy was like, please like me, or like, wait, you think I'm a bad person because of
I'm
this?
not a
Like,
bad person.
let me prove to you that I'm not. I like, but here's where I'm coming from. Which to those people that already think you're nuts or whatever,
They're
They're just gonna think you're not. They're just gonna think you're more nice.
yeah. And like, it took a long time for me to be like, you have that opinion of me,
yeah.
and that's
That's fine.
great. If you like do hate me and you think I'm a bad person, move on and get out of my space.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because a lot of the times when people like keep attacking you because of those feelings, like it's not worth it for me to sit here and get attacked.
No. No.
I would move on, and I invite you to as well. Like, hate me for the rest of your life.
I don't understand the guys that do the switch and that go into the attack and what's your goal?
Because you're not gonna.
What do you think
win
that's
that
gonna?
way.
You think that someone's gonna like?
And then-
Oh yeah, you're calling me names and yelling at me. Let me
Now
give
I
this
wanna
person a second
go on.
chance. Like,
Well, if you're really, I mean, this is why it's the worst, because that would, you know, potentially work on somebody who is really
so broken that they think they did something wrong, and that's
Yeah.
gross.
It's
That's
that-
so gross.
I mean, like one of my first terrible experiences, non-consensual experiences across the board. There was a lot of that because I had never been in like an adult relationship. I was 19, he was 24, and it was just at that point in time such a stark difference in like what life was. I like was barely in college, younger for my age, just emotionally, spiritually. And like, there were so many little just tactics that like he would say things and then I thought I was doing something wrong. And it worked. And I mean, I ended up cutting off friends without me even like realizing it was happening. Like it worked.
Yeah.
So it does work.
Oh,
Like, so, you know,
that's so
Well,
upsetting.
yeah, well, and that something similar happened to me where I was with a guy for a long time who was just always telling me how much everybody hated me and like that I'm an embarrassment and blah blah blah. And I would always be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm messing up." And then he'd be like, "Well, this person said this thing about you, and this person said this thing about you."
Yeah.
And especially towards the end, I got like so anxious and I felt like everybody hated me and he like truly made me believe everyone was against me that I would freak out and I would go to that person and be like, what am I doing? Like, why are you mad at me? Why are you talking shit? And they weren't doing that.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I am doing something kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden anything I said about that relationship, all the validity of like even my character out the door. So when I was able to like actually process and open up about the physical violence that I suffered during that relationship, then all of a sudden people didn't believe me. And I was like, oh, that's what it means.
Yep.
And I'm a very strong woman. And I can't believe my self-esteem was so low and I was so broken that not only did I let someone put their hands on me and physically assault me in my own home multiple times, and like covering up bruises, like very bad, but also it's not just the physical violence, it's the emotional violence.
Yeah.
And then also discrediting me to that entire group of people.
Gradual. Like, I saw a gradual. I think it's really hard to see the extremes, even from the outside in too. You see somebody else and you're like, why are you in that?
Yeah.
Multiple people to me, why are you in that?
Yeah.
And you can't like see because it's like little tiny things of just something that like made them uncomfortable or they comment on something a certain way or, you know.
And then sometimes even having different rules for themselves than for you.
Yeah.
Of like, this is wrong and you can't act like that. And then they'll do something that's exactly the same or like a little worse. And they're like, well, why don't you trust me?
Yes.
I'm just like, you should trust me and like, this is fine.
Or they will change it sometimes too. If you call them and be like, well, you kind of do this. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they fix it. And so then anything that I do wrong can't really be wrong anymore because, well, I fixed it. And like, well, I can not do it. I can be right.
Yeah.
I can be good. And so like, you're still
a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes you can even tell by the kinds of humor that they use, like that they casually will just throw around.
Self-deprecating humor, I no longer like let it slide. I try to pay careful attention to like what exactly it's doing and how it's phrased.
Yes.
Because
especially when it's also phrased like at other people. Like I've learned to pay close attention to how couples make fun of each other.
Yeah, it's so nice.
Because it took me a long time to realize like, oh, that's not joke. Okay, that's not funny. That's just mean, and that just makes someone anxious.
And you're like joking, but you're like also not joking.
Yeah, exactly. And I think so many people, like we were talking about earlier, like, oh, well, it's a joke. It's funny. It's like, okay, but explain like why it's funny.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's funny to put someone you love down?
Yeah.
Why is that bringing you joy and humor to like do that? And they're like, of course, you can poke fun with your partner.
I bully my boyfriend so much.
Well, that's different.
But also,
but it's not serious.
Also
It's not serious.
And it's also like
you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and I'll be like, blah blah blah, and he was like, well, I love you too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, every
Yeah.
couple has their own boundaries of when they like really are just picking and laughing.
Little things when it's like, oh, like, you know, guess you couldn't figure that out because, you know, you always just suck at math, haha, or something.
Yeah,
like,
or
I've seen, and this is something that I've seen girls do. That's always a joke, but it always feels very aggressive. Oh, it must have been like another girl. It must be your other girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
Because
that I'm like,
okay.
I think I should have a conversation.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's very clearly like when that comment, because sometimes I'll say that as like such an outlandish, absurd thing.
Sure.
But I've been around people who's like, oh, well, like it must be one of your other girlfriends because that didn't happen with me. And there's that like edge to it where it's like,
yes, it's not a joke.
okay, this isn't a joke.
This is an actual
I'm
issue that you guys are
uncomfortable.
dealing with.
And it's weird that you're doing this in front of me.
Why did you say that out loud?
Yeah.
Right here.
Yes.
In company.
That's like there's a difference between like lighthearted picking and like either clearly just being mean or airing out dirty laundry in front of others in a way that's like, oh, well, we're just picking. No, we all can tell what you're doing right now. But even, I think in general, something else that a lot of people don't realize can be such an obstacle in dating as women is also other women.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so unfortunate. Like, even, again, like, I haven't dated since I was 17, and I've told the story, like, so many times before. I'll tell you, I never care. Like, I remember when I was in high school, there was a girl who, like, genuinely thought it was so fun to torment me and toy with me, and I didn't realize it. I thought she was one of my best friends. I didn't realize. I thought we were friends. And I remember when I met someone that I started seeing, like, seriously, that she didn't really have control of. They didn't go to our school.
Yeah.
She tried so many things to get me to leave that relationship because she wanted, like, the control over me. And she even went as far as to go to the grocery store and buy a cookie cake that said prom ? And she left it on my car and tried to convince me that I had some secret admirer here at our school, so I didn't need this other relationship that wasn't here, that I needed to just leave the relationship that I was in because I had a secret admirer here because it was fun for her. She liked the control over me.
I feel like people don't.
It was so mean.
Get a hobby.
People are mean.
Get a
People
hobby.
are so mean.
What? I was so busy. Like,
Who has the time to do that?
Well, you were also working professionally as a teenager.
So you didn't have discussed hobbies.
Because like I wanted a hobby, so I got that at 5 years old.
Yeah.
To make the money from it.
Yeah.
Or not that your experience is invalid.
No.
But I think you might be a little busier than an average American at the age of 10.
Correct.
This is true. But I assumed every 10-year-old wanted to be busy like me.
No.
Yeah.
Why not? Why do you want to get fake cookie cake admirer jokes for your not friend?
Well, I wasn't 10. I was 17.
Yeah.
Like, who has time?
I grew up so busy. Like my parents worked like very good full-time jobs as computer engineers. So I was always in after school care programs or on sports teams. I was getting dropped off early. I was picked up late. I was so involved and I had so much energy. When I look back, I'm like, where did I have the energy?
Yeah, I don't know.
But I was like so passionate about theater in high school. And it was like very degrading because I was a theater kid. And at one point they started holding detention in the theater.
Oh.
And I was like, this is just where I hang out. I should be embarrassed by this, right? Yeah. So they like hold detention where I hang out. I'm not in detention, but I'm always there.
I love
Fascinating.
Well, but even like what we were talking about something that I mentioned earlier with like the are we dating the same guy groups, and there are girls who will see posts about these men. They're like, hey, I'm just letting you know this is my ex. He physically harmed me.
Yeah.
And they, for whatever reason, have it in their mind of like, well, I'm just gonna tell him. I'm gonna let him know. Like, why? For why? Why do you need that attention or validation from a man that you're seeing is harming other women?
Well,
What?
that's an easy answer for me. I mean, I don't know about your family, but when you grow up, it's not probably everyone in a more conservative like society or like Midwest or like religion, but like when you're kind of coded to be like, especially as a woman, you're finding your husband. And that's not all you're doing, but like kind of the end goal of like waiting till marriage and like making sure you're presentable to like be, a good mom and a good wife and like learning how to cook, like all these things that like maybe are more traditional. It becomes then like I am in support of like my future husband, i.e. like men. And then it becomes kind of a subconscious competition. I mean, I've definitely been guilty of doing some things where I like undermine because it's like, oh, well, like the guy's more important. Yeah. And like I'm like, know that that's wrong, but like it's not even, you're not even aware of it.
I had to do so much work of undoing some of the internalized misogyny that I used to have of
Really?
like, if I liked a guy and there was another girl interested, I would get kind of like a little territorial, and blah, blah, blah. And then then and he would be trying to control the narrative, and that for sure happened with me.
Oh yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And like as an adult, even in situations where I'd been uncomfortable like about someone's behavior with other women, I'm like, okay, so although this makes me uncomfortable and now I'm having bad feelings, I work really hard on separating those feelings from that girl, because it's not that girl who's making me uncomfortable.
No.
If I need to have stronger boundaries with someone that I'm seeing, then that's where that conversation needs to take place.
Yeah.
And if the guy isn't choosing you, that's not then up to you to then try to be better than the other person.
No, if you're not being
like-
chosen, you're not being chosen.
Right.
And
yeah,
especially as an adult, I will not compete with another woman.
Nope.
no,
No.
Or
And like
I've done it.
I like when I was like in my early 20s, I was like, well, I have to like
be better.
Okay,
be the
well,
best in the-
and I have to be present and like I have to stand my ground.
Yes.
Not like, oh, maybe this guy shouldn't be inviting this drunk girl over to his house at 11 p.m.
Yeah,
Correct.
yes.
It was like, well, I didn't invite her. It's like my roommates and like everyone, like people are over. And I'm like, and then I show up and I'm like, no one's over.
Yeah,
It's like you and this drunk girl and like her friend.
Yeah.
This isn't you and your roommates. You're just hosting this girl
the
that
drunk
you
women.
say that you're not interested in. And it's clear that you are. And in that situation, I showed up to stand my ground. And I look back at that and I was like,
no.
I really wish
I know.
you wouldn't, because
I know.
I love women. I think women are amazing. I don't want to compete with another woman.
Mm-mm.
I don't want to have bad blood with another woman. I don't want it to be like, oh, well, that girl. No.
Mm-mm.
But
Am I going to get along with every woman? No.
yeah,
but, like-
some will exist like still like
Yeah.
a lot of people aren't going to like make that jump to then
Yeah.
be like, oh, actually the other woman isn't the problem.
Yeah.
It's the guy. A lot of people aren't gonna
Yeah.
They're not able to do that.
and so you're just gonna have to be okay with and dealing with some of that.
Well, yeah. There was a time I was dating a guy, and a friend of mine was dating a guy, and we had just met.
Mhm.
And the guys had the same name. They were the same age. They were both kind of bi-coastal. And I had a moment of like, wait, I had just made a new female friend.
Mhm.
We were both dating a guy who had the same name, who was same age,
Yeah.
was like kind of bi-coastal. They both were. And I got to the point where I was like, oh no, what if it's the same guy?
Yeah.
Um,
And I was like, man, I'm so sorry. What is his last name? Because I swear. And she goes, you're not going to like send him a message, are you? And I was like, I am so sorry. Like, it made
Yeah.
me so sad because she's probably had that experience. My instinct was,
Yeah.
I want to make sure it's not the same guy.
yeah.
Her experience was,
Oh,
oh,
you're
you
gonna
might
go-
be interested in him,
Yeah.
and I don't want you to reach out to him.
yeah.
And the reason that she had that
It's because
is probably because, like,
It's
it's either happened to her or a friend of hers.
Yep.
And in that situation, I was just like,
I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
but I was
that's
also like,
happened too. Yeah.
and she's so cool. I was like, I want you to like me so much. I like,
fuck the boys.
I would do whatever I can to like make sure you know like what my character is.
Yeah.
So we just met, and like you don't have to like me, you don't have to trust me, but I would, and like if you hate me, totally fine.
Yeah.
But also like I think you're really cool, so I also want to make sure that like you know I'm not someone who would go out
Yeah.
and do that. And even if we were dating the same guy, I would be like, oh no, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
You do whatever you want to do. And if you do continue
Yeah.
to see him, I would honestly support that
Yeah.
if you're comfortable with it. But like, and I was never exclusive with this person or anything. It
Yeah.
was like pretty casual, but I was like,
If you realize like
Yeah.
the different experiences of women dating, like
yeah.
shapes everything.
And a huge part of that is I think that there is a lot of internalized misogyny. And
Yeah.
sometimes like
Yeah. It's very
especially as a younger woman, I felt like I had to compete with other women.
Yeah.
And there are people my age, older than me, blah, 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 who still
Yeah.
kind of have those mindsets.
I thought you grew out of it. I thought people grew out of it.
Yeah.
And then like once I got to like late 20s when I was like, oh, we're all like growing up.
Yeah.
And then there's like 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds who are like not out of it. And I'm like,
yeah.
Oh,
you didn't
You didn't get the memo.
we didn't get
Oh,
out of that.
yeah.
Yes. It's interesting. So you
And
have
that's
to- you have
okay,
to-
but-
you have to try.
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's always just like disappointing.
Yeah. No, I agree.
That's
Are there any other like big things on the top of your brain that you think a lot of people don't realize about dating as an adult, as a woman, as an adult?
Don't realize.
Like, might not think of or might not realize, whether it's like people who are married and they have their person and they don't realize what their friends might be experiencing, or women who are like coming into dating for the first time and they like just don't know what to expect.
I mean, I think, but this is the same with just social media, but like the overwhelming availability of choices, which then if you have too many choices, it leads to people not knowing what they want and they can't actually just sit down and be like, hey, I'm going to make this decision that like, I think I want this and I'm going to just pursue it. And I don't mean a person. I mean like a lifestyle, the type of lifestyle that people would want. Because if you don't have those answers, it becomes really hard to date. That's why it's so pithy. That's why you just get a hey and you get an empty question. Because no one's actually like, I don't know, has a backbone, is brave enough. I don't know. It's just like, be like, actually, this is the kind of person that I want to be and I want to be with.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, maybe I could be flexible on that. No. Be bold enough to be like, this is what I want. This is the kind of person I want to be, the kind of person I want to be with.
Yeah.
And I think people are scared to make those decisions because then when you meet people who don't fit, you have to say no and move on. And people are like, oh, but I like these things.
Then they got most of the boxes.
Issue. And I think I'm learning this too. And it's like, just be okay saying no really quickly to something that might seem petty because everyone's like, be chill, be chill. Don't be chill.
You don't have to.
Don't be chill.
Especially not with like your physical boundaries.
Yes.
Well, even like we're talking about our futures. Like this is the rest of our life. Why would you not be picky about who you're going to be spending the rest of your life with?
Yes, be freaking picky.
And I kind of already said this before, but like I do want to reiterate because I think the best thing that I ever learned was just because someone isn't available to you, it doesn't mean they're just unavailable. So if that person is available to someone else and they find that thing, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to be mad. You don't like you can be hurt.
Yeah.
And you can be like, man, I really like that person.
Yep.
And that's totally fair and true. But a lot of the times when people just don't feel that vibe, but they're like, I would, I'm just not ready. And then they meet that other person. That's not your fault.
Yeah.
And it's okay for that person to do that. And that's kind of what I said before is like, oh, I've dated some men who are emotionally unavailable. I'm not saying that they're just unavailable. They were unavailable to me. Yeah. And that's also the only experience that I need to have is like, it doesn't matter if they're available for someone else. They don't owe you the same way I don't owe my body to someone. Yeah. Someone doesn't necessarily owe me their availability. Yeah. And it's okay if they tried to give it to me and just like didn't feel it strong enough to kind of open that up. That's fine. Yeah. And you'll save yourself so much stress and so much heartache by not sitting around and being like, well, he said he didn't want anything with me, but he so quickly jumped into something else.
It's not about you.
Yeah. It's not you, honey. It is not you. And I think that was like,
I'm still learning that. I'm better, but we're still getting there.
It's a process.
Look, it's a process. It's like trial and error.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not, you keep going until you find what you're looking for.
Yeah.
I think that's the journey.
Yeah. And that's the journey.
But
sorry.
I think
Next week, there's
no, literally, like next time I come into town, we have to pick a different topic and do it again.
Yeah.
I
really like our dynamic.
Yeah.
I was like, should we start a podcast? And I was like, literally can't.
When?
Like, yeah, that's true. That's true.
If you move to California.
I'm not moving to California.
She's really been considering moving to California. Yeah.
And also, everyone remember that just go congratulate Dan on like the success of the Minions.
Yeah, congrats to Minions.
As you should.
It's been going really
well. Phineas and Ferb just had their premiere, but nobody cares about that show.
They only want to talk about Minions.
But it's really cool that that people are,
considering both.
Supporting
both. Understandable.
You got to support the artist first, but what we want is more Minions.
I had a random man actually take me on a third date to Dan Povenmire's house when I was in college, and Dan doesn't remember this, and I met his children, and it was like a lunch. He's like, I'll take you to lunch, and it was at Dan's house.
I love that so much. Well, thank you guys for
like, I've been here before.
Like, oh, what is this? Thank you guys for hanging out. We need to go get food now.
It's 10:30 p.m.
We need to go get dinner.
Dating tips, eat.
Eat. Take care of your body. Take care of your mind. Take care of your source before you try to take care of somebody else.
See what your capacity is to take care of someone else and what they need taken care of.
Yeah, I like that. See you guys. See you all next week. Bye, my lovelies.